Well, I'm going to begin at my dad's 50th birthday party. We went to an Austrian restaurant and they got wind of the fact it was his birthday and they made him go up and do like the cowbells. And he was quite good at it and everyone thought it was great. And I was dying with embarrassment because it was my dad.
And it was a cowbell.
And it was cowbells.
And you were at an Austrian
restaurant. There is
There were a few elements.
There is a question. I'm not just relaying this strange story to you. I was wondering,
Yes.
despite the fact your mother is of course Meryl Streep, do you still get that sense of embarrassment ever when she's up there singing? Do you ever feel like, oh God, Mum?
No, I mean, not when she was up there in this movie. I mean, there are other things that are, of course, very embarrassing. Like, she has all these sorts of creative ways to disguise herself in public, and one of them, she's decided that if she wears a ridiculous hat, that people will they will look at the hat and not at the person. Which is an interesting logic.
I look at the hat and then I look at the person.
Right, like, who is that person wearing that insane hat?
Yeah.
Right, so.
I mean, it must have been a joy sort of collaborating with her again. I mean, was it a strange kind of crossover between your personal life and your professional life when you're kind of working in a scene alongside your mother?
No, there was no crossover. Our relationship is so different than Julie and Ricki's, it was quite fraught. But there was an ease to it in a way because we have a way of communicating and a shorthand. It's kind of a nonverbal thing. So that made that was just sort of, there was this built-in intimacy.
Because of your first scene together in the movie, there's a lot of animosity. You really have to shout at her quite a lot. Was that quite a fun scene to shoot? Was there lots of kind of laughing in that scene, or was it always quite professional?
It was pretty, when we were focusing in, there was a tense energy and a kind of I just had to keep a lot. It was like I keep on doing this, like my fist just clenched. But then when we wrapped on the scene, I looked at her, worried that I really actually wounded her, like that I was that good at my job. But she just had this big smile on her face. It's fine.
Because there is a sort of light-hearted edge to this film. It's quite playful in many regards. But your character is really the kind of emotional core of it. And I was wondering, was it ever a challenge to really get into the subtleties of her sort of depression in a film that's actually quite kind of jovial in parts? Right,
yeah. That was a tricky thing. It's sort of like, you've got this really clever dialogue that Diablo has written, but then you are dealing with a woman who's at a suicide attempt, and so it was trying to kind of marry those two energies. And I think that there is great comedy in it, but there's an element of like real danger that you have to sense that she could really just go over the edge.
I was wondering, also, I mean, obviously there's some brilliant sort of songs in this movie. I was wondering, what's your karaoke song? If you had to stand up on stage and sing a song in front of a group of people, what would you go for?
I recently sang "You Don't Own Me," which I think is pretty good. That was the most recent one. It used to be Jolene by Dolly Parton, but then I kind of had to let that one go because it was so bad.
Oh, the sort of more bad it is, the better it is usually. I find.
Right. If someone's really good at karaoke, you're like,
no
one wants to be at karaoke with that person.
No, sometimes if you're like me, you've just got to sing really badly on purpose, just so no one thinks, oh, he's really good.
Right. You don't want to intimidate anybody. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Much appreciated.
Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey You Guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yes.
Nice.
Hey